How you guys doing today? I've been really wanting to get my hands on one of these. This is the CRKT High-jinx. I believe it took Knife of the Year at Blade Show this year, 2014. The owner has flitzed the handle, so they're going to be a little bit shinier. It's in for some work, but I figured a lot of you guys probably are not going to get your hands on this. This is a limited run of about, I believe, 525 knives. It's kind of their first experiment in high-end knives. So you guys know CRKT makes great knives, but usually they're budget knives. Something like this Ripple 2 on the IKBS bearing system. Very, very impressive. For what? I think I paid $25, $30 for this. Just very impressive. So anyways, they got together with Lion Steel, as I understand. Lion Steel makes a ton of great knives, and they work with a lot of other manufacturers and produce their knives for them. So you guys probably know the Lion Steel SR1. This is the aluminum version. Anyway, so we know they're very capable of some awesome beefy knives. Not all of them are perfect. Lion Steel's kind of hit or miss on some of their things, but just from my experience. Anyways, most of the time they get it right. This one is right. This one is right as well. But let's get a look at the details and see what makes this knife very unique. I feel this knife really hasn't been done. I love this 3D machined handle here. So it has this little scoop out. I don't know if you can actually see it's hollow with the machining marks in there. Good stuff. Look at those standoffs. You can see how they did the clip so you can reverse it left or right carry. Very low ride clip, much like the SR1. It's a short little guy too. Anyways, when you look at this integral here in aluminum, they also do this in titanium, but you know that Lion Steel has some serious machining equipment. Let's check out that 3D machine pivot. I've never seen it. It looks like a custom piece, or they commissioned, you know, this hardware. I don't quite know the full story. This has the over lock bar travel built into the pivot collar, which is a really cool idea. There's a few knives that are doing this now. What did I just see the other day that had it? I can't remember. Not that important. Anyways, this is on bearings, the IKBS. And of course, you know, it's in the shop to get some work done. So we'll just make that video later. Very excited to get into this though. Alright, so what do I see that I like? I love the grip. Of course, you guys probably recognize this is a Ken Onion design. Fits in your hand great. The jimping, there's just about 2 or 3 notches in there. It's not really functional. This is more for looks, which is fine with me. I don't like overly aggressive jimping. The frame lock does not have an insert. I'm trying to clear out some space here so I can lean in. Alright, the frame lock does not have an insert. Lion Steel is kind of, I wouldn't say famous, but they do that on a lot of their knives. Obviously not all. That might have been nice on this knife. Let's talk about price point. Not that it's needed. I mean, you've got like Chris Reeves, Sabenzas and stuff. They still go titanium onto the liner. The liner at the tang of the knife. You can see it set in right about 40%. A very, very slight stick on it. And I don't know, this knife was pretty much brand new when I got it. Great detent. Flips great. You can see that blade is really thick. It has to be almost a 1/4 inch. Let's just show up against the Lion Steel. Let's show you up against the Boker Albatross. That's more like it. just huge. Let's show you up next to a Strider SNG. So this is a serious built knife. Looking real close, you guys know how I do. Looking real close, you can see the jimping is just a touch off on this grind, how it comes up. So that's not dead across even. I don't know if that's nitpicking way too much. Obviously it's not functional, no problem there, but it's something I noticed and something to point out, you know. Again, I don't know how much you can complain. For $400 you're getting 2 slabs of titanium, a real nice thick blade. Let's see, the specs on the blade steel, I don't know how to pronounce this. Is it Sleipner steel? I think it's K280TXP. I have no idea, guys. I don't know what that kind of steel is. I can only assume it's something tough, because this looks like a tougher, hard-used knife. I love this modified Wharncliffe blade, almost like a sheep's foot blade, but with a touch of belly on it. But overall, it's almost a straight line here. I don't know. I love this blade, almost like a Insingo Sebenza. Kind of weird to see this nice high-end knife and then it has the CRKT logo on it. And you check out this 3D machining right here. I don't know, it seems like a great knife. Obviously I haven't put it in my pocket, carried it around, used it. But giving you guys a little tour around it. Hopefully you can see it's really well built. I'd love to see more from CRKT along this line. I think it's going to take us guys a little bit of getting used to. The first thing I thought when I seen this knife was kind of like, oh wow. Do you guys remember, I was a BMX rider as a kid. I think a lot of us was. And Huffy always made like garbage bikes pretty much. They were bicycles and they got you from A to B, but you really couldn't like bunny hop or go over any jumps or anything. They were not built good, right? You always had to have like a GT or a Redline or a Diamondback or, you know, all the other bikes that were considered like BMX bikes. Well, Huffy kind of experimented and went into the high-end bicycles, I think around the late 90s. And it was just kind of weird to see them in nice high-end bike shops and stuff, to see Huffy BMX bike, you know, it was just kind of weird. But I think overall it got accepted by the biking community, if there even was one. There really wasn't much internet back then, so it was just kind of word of mouth and seeing them inside and checking out BMX Plus. And you seen, I think his name was Todd Lyon or something. I don't know if I'm remembering his name right. But anyways, he was doing front flips on them. And then, you know, it was like, wow, everybody wanted a Huffy bike. And if I'm not mistaken, not too long after that, he did a front flip and like totally botched it and broke the whole frame in half. So that really wasn't, you know, it was in middle of a competition, so they really couldn't keep it out of the public eye. But I just kind of thought the correlation between the Huffy being a cheaper bike, you know, CRKT being mostly known as a budget branded knife producer, and then seeing them step into this higher end here. I don't know. I'm not saying the frame's going to break or anything like that. But what I am saying is, between my friends and I, it was just kind of weird seeing that what you know as a budget knife or a budget bicycle jump up into that high end. So, and I'm not sure. I mean, I got out of biking pretty much not too long after that, as soon as I got my car and all that. But I just wonder if it's going to be the same thing with these knives. If they do make a higher end line, and I totally encourage them. I mean, Knife of the Year, that's quite an accomplishment. So congratulations on that. I do love the design. I think with Ken Onion as a designer, and them stepping up and not being afraid to introduce people like Lion Steel to produce their knives and stuff like that, I think they're going to go over pretty well. once we get it out of our head that they are just a budget, you know, knife company, if they step up into that higher end, they certainly have the money to make some awesome stuff happen, you know. So that'd be great. I've always said this little ripple is awesome. And I know Ken Onion, at least for a little bit, made his mid-tech version of the ripple. And it was actually titanium frame lock. And I believe it had 154 cm steel or CPM 154 steel. Something like that. It was a real respectable steel. And Ken Onion was taking up that project kind of on his own. And they were his mid-tech line. I haven't kept up with him. He's way out of my league. So I don't know if he still has that mid-tech line. I just haven't seen much on it, so I assume he does not. But I always thought, man, if CRKT could have brought that ripple, even at $300, $400, I think it would have sold like crazy. Just because it's a great design. And it flips great. They rounded the spine and everything on this right from factory for like 25 bucks. And I do not believe, maybe it does. Yeah, this is probably China produced. Because I know it has an 8CR 13 MOV steel or 14 MOV. One or the other. But anyways, if they can start putting good steel in their knives, I think they've got the chops, the advertising potential and power, you know, to kind of persuade some of us guys who are into Sabenzas and Striders and all these other mid-techs to come along and start buying knives like this High-jinx. I just do. I mean, how can you deny that if that didn't have the CRKT logo on it and had another just Ken Onion's name on it, this mid-tech would be super collectible. And it probably still is, because it does have his name on it, you know. It's just attached to the CRKT name. I don't know. I think they've done some really nice things with this, with that low ride clip. I'm not particularly a huge fan of the low ride clip, but it does have a lanyard hole so that you could thread a lanyard on here and then just give the lanyard a tug, much like I do my Strider here. So really that's not an issue as long as it's got a lanyard hole for myself. The owner had said something about the hardware being kind of small in the back. Yeah, I have to agree. That could have been beefed up a little more to make sense. Even if not really a design flaw, like these will probably never break, just to match the proportions of this knife would have been nicer, even if you just had larger screw heads here. But again, kind of nitpicking, but just some what do you call that? Constructive criticism. Maybe pay a little bit more attention to how these things are ending up here. Although that's really not a huge glaring defect. I just did notice it. I do like how Ken Onion's design here comes up and comes flush with the handle here. I love all the contouring around. There's no sharp edges on this knife. You see it's nicely contoured all the way around. The 3D milling on this titanium is very impressive, and it's going to make a great platform for anodizing work and stuff like that. So stay tuned, because you're going to see this knife again in a few days, maybe a week or so, and it's going to look totally different. One more thing I'd like to say. The flipper is a touch sharp. So you can see that pointer there. And I found this the case on a lot of the Browse blades that I've handled. It's just too sharp. Yes, we need it to grip into our finger. I hit my table there. But it could be more rounded. Not that Hinder is the best flipper in the world, right? We all know that. But check out how this is just slightly rounded right here. Right on the top here. So there's never any kind of irritation to your finger there. Right, Hinder's not the best flipper. But anyways, with the strong detent and that sharp flipper, if you flip this thing 20-30 times, your finger starts to get the little dent in it. Starts to become a little bit sore and all that, you know. Maybe you shouldn't be playing with your knife over and over again. Maybe you'll go blind. I'm kidding. You know what I mean. Maybe you shouldn't just be flicking your knife back and forth, but I feel when you pay $400 for it, you should be able to. It's your knife. You should be able to flick it all day long if that's what you want to do. And that sharpness really does not add anything. Like when I redo this knife, I'm probably going to take that off just a touch. And I'm not talking a large amount, just so it's not sharp. See that? It's actually sharp, so. Anyways, also like that they got the geometry of the flipper 90 degrees off this pivot. Makes for a great flipper. Matched up with the bearing system, IKBS. You know, it's a winner. Love this pivot collar so you can't overextend your lock bar. And it looks really classy. I almost would like to see them put that same collar on the front. Not that it needs to, not that it would add any kind of strength or anything, but just as a design thing. If these screws were just a touch larger, and then that pivot collar was up here, because that is a great looking pivot. I mean, it really looks like a custom piece of machinery. You know, that looks like something you would find on a very high-end custom knife. Anyways, it's a fun knife. I think it's worth the $400. If they start going for much more than that, I don't know. I don't see this knife being $550, $600, just bone stock. Of course, maybe with some extra work on it. Anodizing, acid stonewash blades, something like that. Yeah, but they're limited. From my research I did online, about 525 were produced. And they came, I should have brought it over here for you guys. It's a really nice leather bound like display wrap to protect your knife and shipping and stuff. And it's got the CRKT kind of laser etched on the leather wrap bag. I don't know, I should have brought it, but anyways. Seems like a great knife. I highly encourage them to keep on, and you can see the blade's dead center there. Keep on going, man, because you guys do really have great designs. And I think a lot of us who are even what you might call knife snobs, when you get into the Sebenzas, the Strider, yeah, I just flipped those around, Strider, the Sebenza, Hinders, other Lion Steels, you know, that's all I have right here on hand. I think that you guys can stand toe-to-toe with them. I really do. It's just going to take us as buyers and consumers maybe a year or so to just get acclimated to a CRKT costing $400. You know, but from what I can see here, actual product in hand, I think it's a great knife. All the 3D, again, contouring, the way the handle is scooped out here, just an awesome design. Great staff, you know, that seem to be willing to try new things. I mean, there's more than a few CRKT knives that are currently being produced that I kind of shake my head and go, what in the heck? You know, but they keep on selling, they keep on trying new things, new locks, and stuff like that, which is great to see, you know. So I do think there's room. There's definitely room for them to make these higher-end knives, and we just need to get used to it, really. You know, do I think they'll be the next Chris Reeve knives? I don't know. They probably have the monetary ability to do so. So we might be really surprised in the next few years. I don't know. But this first one out of the gate here is pretty incredible. And it's going to be a great platform to work off of for those who are willing to spend even more money on a knife that's already $400. So that's it. I know I've talked 20 minutes. I always love talking to you guys. I got about 3 more videos to make here. But keep your eye out. If you guys are seeing these on the secondary market, even at $400, and you like what you see, I'd say do it. Just do it. It's an incredible knife. It looks great plain. Now when you bead blast it, do some bronze anodizing, maybe double nuking, maybe an acid stonewash, you know, wink wink. I think you'd be very happy with the end result when the whole project comes together. But that's just me. Thanks a lot, guys. Hopefully you have a great day. See ya.